Hello, everybody. This is Appa Brian and Appa Baseball Classics with Week 8 of the NFL Picks. Spooky Sunday. It's spooky for several reasons. There are about 7 games that are fairly easy picks. There's about 8 toss-ups out there, too. So some of us might have a
Yeah.
spooky time if we care about our percentages. And speaking of percentages, Justin, overall you have won 74 games. Lost 33, that's 68%, and you won 5 weeks. And I'm at 64%, 68 wins, and Dan has 66 wins at 62%, picking we've each won 1 week. But weird things happen on Halloween. This could be a weird Halloween in the NFL.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I'm nervous about a lot of these picks this week. I've got a couple that I think are upsets that I'm gonna go with the underdog, but we'll see how it plays out.
Yeah, me too. Let's start with the Thursday night game. The Green Bay Packers at the Arizona Cardinals.
All right, Arizona. They're doing great. Their defense is doing good, stopping teams in the red zone. Kyler Murray is first in the NFL with nearly a 74% completion percentage. This matchup is going to be very interesting to watch for sure, and it's going to tell us a lot about these two teams going forward in the season. However, Green Bay, they are missing Devontae Adams and Alan Lazard.
Yep.
So I think
And the
because
defensive
of those
coordinator.
injuries, I'm going to have to. Sorry.
Yeah, they're also missing their defensive coordinator because of COVID.
Oh, yeah. I'm picking Arizona to win this game.
Yeah, I've got Arizona as well. Green Bay quarterback Aaron Rodgers is probably haunted by memories of a couple of playoff games he's lost in Arizona. Green Bay also has some other injuries. There's at least one offensive lineman that's not playing, and I've heard as many as 3 maybe might not be playing. So Green Bay is kind of behind the 8 ball injury-wise. I think Arizona, J.J. Watt, by the way, is not practicing. He's injured. He hasn't practiced the past couple of days. So, but I think Chandler Jones is back. So it's going to be a good game, great way to start this NFL weekend. Arizona's my pick. Next game is Carolina at Atlanta. All right, let me introduce Dan Mattingly, my son-in-law. He is joining us each week with the NFL picks. And Dan, last week you were 10-3. You had a good week. I was 10-3. Unfortunately, Justin was 11-2.
Yeah, I gotta get his agent or something. I don't know what's going on over there.
Our first up game is the Thursday night game, Green Bay at Arizona.
Well, it looks like Adams and Lazard will be out for Green Bay this week with on COVID protocols, which is unfortunate because they probably would have played if the team was playing on Sunday. I do not really love the Packers offense without Adams. I think they'll key onto the running back and being thin at receiver with 2 of Rodgers' favorite targets down. That's going to be tough. J.J. Watt's out for the Cardinals, but I think the Cardinals can overcome that and get a win at home.
Got you down for Green Bay. Yeah.
Cardinals.
Cardinals. Yeah, Arizona Cardinals. We're all 3 on Arizona. Devontae Adams is Aaron Rodgers' third down push button option. And he's not going to be there, and the number 2 guy is not going to be there. Plus the defensive coordinator's out too with COVID. So
I didn't see that.
Yeah.
That makes a difference.
Sunday morning games. First one is Carolina at Atlanta.
An interesting game as well. Carolina is on a 4-game losing streak. They've had a bit of a tougher schedule so far than Atlanta. But last week was pretty ugly for Carolina, to say the least. Now I think their offense can probably get back on track a little bit this week because Atlanta's got practically nothing going on positively on defense.
They still have to run pretty good. I'm going to talk about that.
Oh, okay.
Mhm.
Well, Hubbard's pretty good though. And running the ball might be Carolina's strength right now. They're going to have to make that work because there's clearly a quarterback problem happening in Carolina and an offensive line pass blocking problem.
Mhm.
I think Atlanta's offense can outscore Carolina. And so I kind of treat this as one of my underdog picks. And I'm gonna go with Atlanta.
All right. Matt Ryan has had 10 touchdown passes and only one interception in his last 4 games. And they have really included Pitts into their offense. Now, Pitts had 163 yards last week, and he's starting to look like the elite tight end that people think he is. Yeah, that defense, I wouldn't give you a lot for the pass defense, but they have allowed only 87 yards rushing per game. And that's what's the problem with Carolina. They become pretty one-dimensional. You know, they put everything on their quarterback's shoulders, and he's not done well with it in the last 4 games. In fact, they even took him out of the game and benched him last week. He's back practicing with the number 1, so he's expected to start again. And I think, they've been threatening to run the ball more, but they haven't. Chuba Hubbard, when has been given opportunities, has been okay. So I look for Carolina to truly make an effort to try to run more, but I just don't think Atlanta's defense is going to let that happen. They can stop the run. I am picking the Atlanta Falcons.
Tough game. I think whichever team scores more than 14 points should win. So I really don't like the Panthers right now. I think they're starting to roll over, which is surprising because I think they have a good coach, but they just really can't put it together on offense. And, the defense isn't really stopping too many people from putting up more points than that offense can. I'll take the Falcons and the corpse of Matt Ryan. They're propping him up back there. But Pitts and the Ridley and the other receivers are going to make him look pretty good this week.
Well, Ryan's got 10 touchdown passes versus 1 interception in the last 4 games. So he's playing okay. Carolina, I said this with Justin, they've just become too one-dimensional. And they haven't really tried to run the ball. Hubbard's okay if they give him a chance. But now Atlanta's not the team to run against. They're only allowing 87 yards a game.
Yeah.
Next game is Miami against Buffalo.
Yeah. Tua coming off a 4-touchdown game. That's kind of impressive. However, he's not going to get that against Buffalo. He might not even get 1 touchdown against Buffalo. I'm gonna have to go with Buffalo. This is just too much of an easy pick here.
I'm also going with Buffalo. They're looking at the Super Bowl. A lot of people think they're the front runners, and they're thinking about getting that bye and ending with the best record.
So with Miami and Buffalo, I've got to take the Bills at home. I think it should be a pretty easy win for them. All the rumors and everything with the Miami front office looking at finding either Deshaun Watson or someone else tell me that they're really not confident in Tua being able to win them football games. The defense has fallen off a cliff, as we mentioned the week before. The Bills will beat them handily, I think.
Yeah, Tua has completed 75% of his passes the last 2 weeks, but he is still kind of mistake prone. And I think Buffalo wins this easily also. Justin also picked Buffalo. Yeah, this game coming up next is not so easy to pick. San Francisco 49ers at the Chicago Bears.
Yeah. Well, I kind of disagree. I think this is an easy 49ers victory. The Bears, their defense is okay. Tampa Bay completely overwhelmed them last week. I don't think San Francisco will do that. However, Chicago's offensive problems, they're not going to be able to keep up with Jimmy Garoppolo and what he can offer. So I'm going to have to pick the 49ers.
Okay.
And another thing, I think the San Francisco pass rush that we've been waiting for all year, I think they put some stats up this week.
Yeah, D Ford is going to be chopping his lips for that. Just hopefully he lines up on sides. San Francisco, they're -7 in turnovers. It'd be kind of nice to see a Trey Lance, Justin Fields, two rookies oppose each other, but I think Garoppolo is going to play, like you said. Deebo Samuel's having a great year at wide receiver, and I'm not confident in Chicago's offense. Matt Nagy is out with COVID, so he's not going to be on the sideline. That could be a help, maybe. I think his job is kind of in trouble. The Bears, though, they're only good for about 12 points a game. And I do think San Francisco can manage more than 12 points. So I'm picking the 49ers.
I was looking at both of these teams. I don't like them. Don't like either team, really. I think that they're both pretty injured. It looks like the Bears they're talking about shutting Khalil Mack down for the rest of the year since they're having a tough time. I didn't see very much with Fields. And I really think that after watching a little bit of the Niners play, they have an okay pass rush. They can get to Fields. And I think that they can put up more points than the Bears.
Cleveland is hosting Pittsburgh.
This is a very tough game to pick here. I think Cleveland brings the better defense this year than Pittsburgh does. Pittsburgh, they're just kind of an average all-around team from what I've seen so far this year. And I think that the Cleveland rush defense is going to keep that Pittsburgh running game down. Last week was impressive for Cleveland to come out on top against the Broncos without Baker Mayfield. And I think they can build on that. And I think they're going to come out on top against Pittsburgh this week as well.
Cleveland's rush defense is only allowing about 80 yards a game. So it's going to be up to Najee Harris, but Pittsburgh's running game hasn't been all that great. And I think it's going to be pretty much on the shoulders of Ben Roethlisberger to win this game for Pittsburgh, and I don't think that's going to happen. He's going to be the offensive line doesn't block that well, so he's going to be wearing Myles Garrett for a while. So I think Pittsburgh's coach is very good, Mike Tomlin. He got offended this week because somebody suggested he should look at taking a USC college job, and he didn't like that comment. He said they don't ask Andy Reid and Bill Belichick those kind of questions, and he's right. You know, he's a good coach. He's never had a losing record at Pittsburgh. On the other hand, yes, Cleveland's banged up, but Case Keenum has some history with his coach Stefanowski. They were together with the Vikings when they went to the NFC Championship game. So Keenan knows, the system, and I don't think there's a drop off there between him and an injured Baker Mayfield. And we know Cleveland can run the ball. So I do think it's going to be a good day for the Cleveland Browns.
It looks like Baker's going to play in this one. I think Landry's out, and Chubb is still out, if I'm not mistaken. He was on IR, right?
I think.
Think so? Okay.
Yeah, I think Chubb's not back on the practice field.
Chubb's back and Hunt's out. Okay.
Hunt's out, yeah.
Well, I like Cleveland here. I think the Steelers are kind of that sneaky team that can put something together when you don't expect it. But I think the Browns are pretty focused this year.
Yeah, I think Roethlisberger is going to need a running game to win games. Mm-hmm. And Cleveland's pretty good against the run, and they're pretty good at rushing the passer. And the offensive line of Pittsburgh leaves a lot to be desired. So we both picked, Justin and I both picked Cleveland. First really interesting game, Philadelphia at Detroit. One of the games I'm most interested in.
Yeah, could this be the one that Detroit wins? So, unfortunately, though, there's some things working against them. Detroit has one of the worst pass defenses in the NFL, and Jalen Hurts has been recently getting better with his passing game. To the tune of 28 points versus a good Las Vegas defense and a good Las Vegas pass rush. He was helped out by his run game quite a bit, but Jalen Hurts himself had nearly half the carries, and he had a decent run total for yardage last week against the Raiders. I feel like Philadelphia's offense is a little bit too dynamic for Detroit's defense to keep up with. And I think Philadelphia is going to win this game. It could be a close one with, of course, how Detroit battles every week, but I think the Eagles are going to win.
Most of the Lions games have been pretty close. The Philadelphia main running back Sanders is out, so he's not be playing. And it's going to be the running game is going to be mainly on Jalen Hurts. I think it's true that the defensive secondary for the Lions tend to play off the receivers. Maybe at some point that changes. I hope it's this week, because if Detroit's going to get in the win column, I think this is the week. A lot of the media is picking Detroit to win this week. They're certainly pulling out all the stops. Last week they tried onside kicks, fake punts, going for it on fourth down. That coach is doing everything he can think of to try to win. And they have been right on the brink. And actually, they played really well in the first half of their games. They've held the ball, I think, something like 54% in the first half of their games. Maybe they wear out toward the end. They've not closed games well. But when the Chiefs played the Eagles, they were kind of second win at the end of that game too. So this is the week. I think Detroit pulls off a close one and beats the Eagles. So that's the only one so far we've differed on.
Okay, wow.
So this is the game Detroit could win. They're 0-7. Everybody loves the coach. They've been in a lot of games. And the Eagles are really inconsistent. They're really not a very good team. They rely on, a couple lucky plays sometimes. They don't seem to be able to put drives together. But I have trouble picking the Lions. I think I said before, it's against my religion to pick the Lions to win because I always get it wrong. I'll take the Eagles.
Justin also took the Eagles. I'm out on a limb with the Lions.
Ooh. Living dangerously. I like it.
Campbell is pulling out all the stops to try to win a game. Onside kicks, which they recovered. 2-point conversions, fake punts, fourth down tries. He's trying everything.
Yeah, he wants to win.
Tennessee
Impressive.
made me a new Tennessee Titans helmet today to get the right color, or I made it a couple days ago.
Cool.
So we got the Titans at the Colts next.
This is their second game this year. This is an important divisional game.
Tennessee's one up on them.
Yes. Tennessee had a great week last week. I think they're going to come back down to earth a little bit this week. You know, Indianapolis, they have a very fast defense. And we kind of saw that defense give them a little bit of trouble with some takeaways in that week 3 matchup. I kind of see that happening again. And also a big reason why the Colts lost that game was their passing attack in week 3 wasn't quite looking as well as it is lately. They had some key drops in that week 3 game, and I think they kind of fixed that. And I think I see the Colts beating the Titans this week.
Tennessee is riding high right now. You know, they beat the Buffalo Bills, and then they kicked the Chiefs in the pants. So and when they beat the Chiefs, it even looked like they weren't trying very hard. I mean, it looked like it was easy for them to beat the Chiefs. So in Indianapolis, I watched some of that Indianapolis game, and Carson Wentz is having a good year, but I think he's got a below average NFL arm. They go deep sometimes, and I think the primary hope is that he gets a PI. And they did get a couple of pass interferences, you know, a couple of 50-yard penalties. That helps them. But Tennessee's a smart team, and they're able to rush the passer with just 4 down linemen so they can have extra guys defend the pass. They don't blitz much. In fact, they hardly blitz. I don't think they blitzed at all last week. Do you recall any blitzes?
No.
Yeah.
But I think they have the offensive line to handle that. And I think the Tennessee defense is vulnerable to everything that Indianapolis has going on offense right now. They're vulnerable to the rush attack, and we saw that in week 3.
Yeah,
Indianapolis got some score.
We didn't challenge Tennessee's rush
and
at all. And Taylor,
and Hines and Taylor is very fast. So I'm expecting this to be a very good game, but this is my other underdog pick that I'm expecting Indianapolis to upset Tennessee.
I don't know that the secondary for the Colts is going to be up to Tennessee's big receivers. And the Colts right now are very balanced. You know, they're running the ball well and they're throwing the ball well. And I look at one of the corners for the Colts is like 5'9". It's like Mike Hughes, and we saw how that worked with Tennessee's receivers. So I think it's going to be a close game, but I think Tennessee is good for another week of being at the very tip-top of their game. I think when NFL teams get to the top, they're good for about 3 weeks, and then they kind of start to decline again. This is that 3rd week, and this is they can go for the throat and really put a nail in Indy's coffin, holding 2 games edge over them if they could beat them. So I'm going with Tennessee.
Tennessee at Indy.
Mm-hmm.
All right. For this one, I have a tough time with this one. I really do think that the Titans should win this game. I think they have a better team. And I just think they're a lot more balanced than the Colts. I think the Colts kind of are reliant on a little bit of good fortune. Like we said, I think they got a couple of pretty lucky PI calls. in that game that they played last week. And I think the Titans are really starting to cook. I expect them to do well this year.
Tennessee?
Yes.
I'm with you on the Tennessee pick. I think they've got one more great week in them. I mean, they had a great week against Buffalo, kicked us in the pants and didn't look like they were working hard doing it.
No, not at all.
Yeah, I'm down with Tennessee. I think Carson Wentz is having a good year, but I still don't think he's that great of a quarterback. So, yeah. Cincinnati.
I think Hilton's out too. T.Y. His top receiver.
I think he's back with practicing, so he might be playing.
Is he?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. But that's not going to make Wentz's arm any stronger. They might be even more encouraged to try to get those PIs. But you can't count on that every week. That's 2 games weird.
Yeah, not a bad pick.
All right, we got Cincinnati at the New York Jets.
Shout out to Jamar Chase last week. 25 yards per catch. I find that very amazing.
200-yard day. He's becoming the premier receiver, and it's like they were in college, and it's just picked up right where they left off in the NFL.
Yeah. Everything Cincinnati has going on is just it's a way higher level than the Jets. So there would need to be I don't even think miracles can help the Jets here. I mean, somehow they pull out that win against Tennessee earlier in the year, but I don't see that happening against Cincinnati.
Now, the word miracle came to mind when I was thinking about this game myself. Zach Wilson's injured, and it's either going to be Mike White or I think they traded for Joe Flacco. I don't know if Flacco will be ready to go in 1 week or even less than a week. But Cincinnati's defense, too, has been outstanding. That Trey Hendrickson has got, I think, 7 sacks. And the other guy's got 3 or 4, so they got about 10.5 sacks between them. Tennessee is making a statement week in and week out. We're both on Cincinnati.
I like Cincy. The Jets, not a lot to like on that team. And Cincinnati looked fantastic against Baltimore. I think the connection and that pick of Jamar Chase has worked out phenomenally. I was skeptical of it and thought, why wouldn't you take the best offensive lineman in the draft there? But that connection between those two is fantastic. I think Chase had 200 yards last week. It was incredible to see. So Cincinnati for me.
Yeah. Los Angeles Rams at the Houston Texans.
Okay. Houston played well in the first half last week, but they didn't finish. The Rams are just too good for Houston. This is an easy pick.
Yeah, I think I heard that Tyrod Taylor is back to practicing again. I don't know if he's going to be playing. Davis Mills just is not an NFL quarterback quite yet. Yeah, 161 yards last week. That's just not going to do it. They've given away too many stars, and there's just nothing left in the cupboard, for Houston. So, yeah, we're both on the Rams.
I don't know how much it will matter. I think Tyrod Taylor had a great start to the season before he got hurt. But they just don't have enough, and they keep trading pieces. They let another couple guys go this past week. So I really do not expect them to win that game. So I'll take the Rams and all their weapons and Aaron Donald.
That's the end of the Sunday morning games. Sunday 3:30 games. New England at the Los Angeles Chargers. Another tough pick here.
Yeah. New England played well against Dallas. Um, the Chargers, they are coming off a bye, and they've had 2 weeks to prepare. Now I think Mac Jones, he's gonna struggle against the Chargers secondary, but the New England rushing attack will probably have a nice day. I think this is gonna be a very close game. But the Chargers, they just have those incredible receivers. I think coming off the bye, they kind of went wrong in Baltimore. They're going to be home too. I think they get back on track and beat New England this week.
Okay, so LA Chargers. I've been going back and forth on this game. I love the coach at the Chargers, Brandon Staley, but the run defense, I think the hardest thing to fix on an NFL team is the inability to stop a rushing game between tackles. If you don't have the horses to do it, Chargers rush defense is last in the league. And I think that's a hard thing to fix. I think that in football, if your team can't stop the rush, especially between the tackles, that's the hardest thing to fix. So New England, they've got enough of a running game that they could take advantage of that. And I'm wondering if New England's secondary can hold up to the big receivers of the Chargers. Mike Williams and Keenan Allen's 6'2". I would consider him a big receiver. So I like Belichick. I'm a little bit less in love after last week with Brandon Staley. I am actually going with New England. I think they masterfully progressed with Mac Jones. And as we get deeper into the season, they're going to do more with him. And it's been going well. That's another pick we disagree.
Yeah.
It's the only way I'm going to make up ground on your league. But that's not the reason why I made these picks.
I know who you took.
No, you don't.
I don't. Oh boy. I want New England in this game. It's I think there will be, as I always say about the LA games, I think there's going to be a lot of Patriots fans. I can't recall. Do you recall the last time the Pats played in LA? It's been years and years, I think. So I think their fans will turn out.
I don't know. When teams fly from one coast to another coast, I don't think that's. I think that's a disadvantage for them. We had that in that game, and then Jacksonville going to Seattle. We had that. The London game doesn't count because both teams are flying a long ways.
Oh, it's terrible for both of them. Yeah.
I do see a little bit of a disadvantage for New England flying across country.
I see that. And I know that the Chargers have had a week to plan. But I think I like what New England's doing. I like that defense. I'd be a little surprised to see them win, but I have enough confidence to think that they might pull this one out.
Okay, got you down for New England. I put down Chargers, then I crossed it out, put down New England. Then I crossed it out and put Chargers. Then I crossed it out and I put New England.
Oh, so you did what I did. I see. Okay.
Yeah. I actually have more confidence in New England's defense and Belichick than I've fallen out of love of Staley. It was a hard, fast fall. Yeah. 2 weeks ago, the Chargers did not show up for their game. They've had 2 weeks to prepare, but there's a progression. Mac Jones is given a little responsibility to start. He's given more and more as he goes along, and he's handling it. All right, Jacksonville at the Seattle Seahawks.
This is a fun game. So somehow Seattle's defense held New Orleans to 13 points last week.
New Orleans doesn't have any wide receivers.
Yeah, they have injuries there.
Yeah.
Yeah. But I mean, even so, like Kamara, like
Well, it's all dump downs to him. 10 catches for Kamara because the wide receivers couldn't function.
yeah, that makes sense. Well, Jacksonville, they have a little bit more of a offensive variety, I think. They got Chark Jr. at wide receiver, and their running back Robinson is having a good year. I almost want to pick the Jaguars here. I really almost want to. But I think for Seattle, this is an absolute must-win game for their season. There is no losing this game. They have to win. This is at home, and their upcoming schedule is going to get tough, and they have to win this game. So I think Seattle's going to win.
Seattle has not won a home game yet this year. So they've kind of frittered away their home field advantage. Trevor Lawrence, after the first 2 weeks and all those interceptions, has really settled down and shown what Trevor Lawrence can do. And Robinson, as you say, he is a decent running back. The other thing about Jacksonville is they've got some pretty stout kids playing defense on the front line, up on the front. So Seattle, which has no running game to begin with, they're not going to have one either. And it's going to be on Geno Smith. And I don't think Geno Smith has enough to carry him through. The only thing I'm worried about, I'm on Jacksonville in this game. The one thing I do worry about is I do worry about teams that have to go from one coast all the way over to the other coast. And that's worrying me about the New England Charger game as well. Jacksonville has to go from the East Coast to play up in the Northwest, Seattle. But I'm looking at this, and by the way, I'm hearing rumors that Russell Wilson maybe kind of wanting out of Seattle because he wants to get back to a Super Bowl. And when he was playing, everything's pretty much on him. They got no running game, no defense. So I think Seattle's ripe to get beat by Jacksonville. I'm picking Jacksonville.
Yeah, that's not a bad pick. And I was thinking about that too, but I just think that Seattle has won. They've got this game. I think they got this. DK Metcalf is great. I haven't really been big on Seattle this year, but I'm kind of betting on this whole must-win, save the season thing for them.
Seattle needs the game. I know the Jags are trying to win whatever they can pull out. Man, I've not been impressed with Geno Smith. He can't stay in a pocket for more than half a second. He just spins out of pockets and misses big throws because of it 90% of the time.
Yeah.
It's terrible to watch. I don't like Seattle's defense, but I don't like really too many pieces of Jacksonville too. I'll take Seattle because they're at home, and as you mentioned before, Jacksonville's got to fly across the country to play them.
I'm out on a limb with Detroit, and I'm out there with Jacksonville.
Man, look at
Trevor Lawrence is progressing, as is Mac Jones. He had real rough first 2 weeks, but not so much then. He's playing better and better every week. Jacksonville's got some big guys on that front in defense. And Seattle's offensive line doesn't block too well. So,
no, they don't.
Justin's looking at DK Metcalf and Tyler Lockett, but I think it pretty much takes Russell Wilson to get the ball to him because Smith is like he's running around crazy. So, I'm out there with Jacksonville. Next game, all right. The next game is the Washington football team goes to Mile High Stadium in the high altitude to play the Denver Broncos.
Yeah, I think Denver's gonna win this. Denver, they're kind of like Carolina, how Dan mentioned last week that Carolina is the team that can beat the bad teams. Although they did just
I
get blown
think
out by the Giants.
I think Denver is one of those bad teams.
Yeah, Denver, but Denver, they've shown they can handle the bad teams. Um, they played a close game last week against the Browns, and I think that's good enough to win against the Washington football team.
Okay. They were playing a beat up Browns team. And Denver has two inside linebackers that are out, that are good players. And I watched some of that Denver game last week, and their tackling was just atrocious. They don't want to tackle anybody. And Washington, you're going to have to tackle them or they'll keep running. Their offense is good enough. Heineke and Gibson are decent running back, good wide receiver. I think the defense for Washington is rushing the passer a little better. They're not up to last year's level. But because those two inside linebackers are hurt and Denver doesn't want to tackle anybody, I'm picking the Washington football team. Now,
All
we're,
right.
yeah, we're
This,
going to have a really interesting week. We're different on quite a few picks. Tampa,
yeah.
Tampa Bay at New Orleans.
All right. Um, the Tampa Bay offensive line is playing great this year. No sacks given up last week. And then we all know about Fournette and their amazing receiving core. I just don't think New Orleans can keep up with them. Tampa Bay is now regularly putting up high 30s, low 40s every week. So I'm picking Tampa Bay.
Yeah, the only thing I think New Orleans has got going for it is Marshawn Lattimore has shut down Mike Evans the last three times they played. Evans only has 2 catches. So apparently Lattimore can stop a big receiver. But there's other options for Tom Brady, and New Orleans doesn't have very many options. Their wide receivers aren't playing well. I think the defense is pretty good. I was surprised I didn't see any Taysom Hill recently with New Orleans. Maybe this would be a good week for him to come back and find some way to get in the end zone. But I think Tampa Bay is not going to let their foot off the gas. They're trying to get the number 1 seed. I think Tampa Bay beats New Orleans.
Tampa. I don't think New Orleans can score points with them at all. They won 13-10, and it was ugly last week. That was a tough Monday night game. I had to flip over to the Manning Brothers broadcast to see the guests more
Yeah,
than watch the game.
that lightens it up quite a bit. They're doing a good job over there.
Yeah, they're doing great. That makes for a much better watch on a 13-10 Monday night. The Saints are so limited with Jameis. He's playing so conservatively and he's missing so many throws. He's used to a big downfield passing game, and I don't think the Saints can do that. Or at least they're not willing to let him do that.
Well, they don't have the wide receivers to do it. They tried a couple downfield, but they dropped the pass. Yeah, that's why Kamara had 10 catches.
Yeah.
He didn't have much off option.
Right. No, Kamara's an incredible player. He'll probably be the best player on the field most of the time he goes out there, but they don't have the team around him.
So we all had Tampa Bay. Next game is the Sunday night game. The Dallas Cowboys at the Minnesota Vikings.
This is a fun game as well.
Mm-hmm.
Both offenses have to deal with a good pass defense. However, both offenses have great receivers, and their quarterbacks have shown the ability to make plays. I think the edge in this game comes from the Dallas running attack, the 1-2 punch with Elliott and Pollard. I think Minnesota's shown all year long that they're vulnerable to the run. And I kind of see that being their Achilles heel this week. It's going to be a close game, and I expect the score to approach the 30s for both teams. However, Dallas is probably going to come out on top. So I'm picking Dallas.
Okay, I went back and forth in this game. The last time we saw Dak Prescott, he was walking off the field limping with a boot on with his calf injury. And then Jerry Jones, the owner of the Cowboys, comes on and says that you have to think about the long-term season and you don't want to endanger Dak Prescott. But I think he's going to play. I think Dallas has ideas about the Super Bowl, and I think Dallas also wants that bye, because that's your best chance to win the Super Bowl is to get that first week bye and get some home field advantage. It's going to be tough to play in Minnesota. Minnesota Cousins is having a great year. They've got talent all over the field. They rush the passer quite well. Hunter and Griffin have 10 sacks between them combined. But the one thing about Minnesota, they only got 2 rushing touchdowns all year. And on the other flip side, Dallas is only allowed 5 rushing touchdowns all year. So it's going to be a lot on Kirk Cousins and whether or not Jefferson can beat Trayvon Diggs. And Diggs has been coming up huge every week. I think Diggs comes up huge again. I think, like you say, Dallas is running the football, and I think that Dak Prescott will play. I'm also picking Dallas. Dallas at Minnesota.
I don't like this game. Dak's got a calf injury. They're kind of seeing if he's going to play. That makes it kind of tough. If Dak plays, I want to take the Cowboys. But Minnesota's sneaky good. They're a good football team that just has played some real bad games. I'll take the Cowboys just because I think if Dak plays, they should be a lock to win. And I know both you guys took the Vikings, so I'm hoping for a win out of this one.
Nope, we both took Dallas.
No. Dang.
Very close. I'm about 80-20 that Dak's going to play because, I mean, they would say if they're just looking to win their division, because they're pretty much going to win the division.
Yeah.
But I think they have ideas about the Super Bowl, and they want that bye. So I think it's going to ride Dak's horses as long as they can.
Yeah.
I know that the owners said that they got to think of the long term and all that stuff, but I think that was just smoke. I think that's playing. So we'll
Jerry
see.
likes to win.
Likes
a lot. Yeah.
That brings us to the Monday night game, New York Giants and the Kansas City Chiefs. The Kansas Pity Chiefs.
I've been back and forth on this game. I see a pass rush that's coming along over there in New York, and Kansas City, they have problems everywhere right now.
Yeah, our offensive line was surprisingly bad last week. I mean, they've had 6 good weeks, but boy, Orlando Brown gave up 2 or 3 at the end there, and he just looks slow. I don't know if he's battling an injury or what. You never find out that stuff too well from the Chiefs. They've lost confidence in Lucas Nyang at right tackle, and they've been playing Mike Rimmers. And I think Rimmers is at least average, but he's not above average, I don't think. Joe Thuney has a broken hand. He played pretty well, but yeah, go on.
So there's some things that I think the Chiefs need to do. They need to have Bolton on the field more, along with Willie Gay at the linebacker position. Those two need to be on the field together for the majority of the plays. And at this point in the season, I mean, I don't know if Spags or Andy is going to okay that, but I think that's what needs to happen. For starters, like if we're going to start trying to change things on the defense, that needs to happen. Another thing the defense needs to do is, it seems to me like Tyrann Mathieu has completely disappeared this year. And I think what's happening is they've been putting a leash on him because they know how bad things are with the rest of the defense. So they need him to tone down his moving around and being in the right spot so that he can be in a more safe spot, a more calculated spot to prevent the big play. But that's not been working, and I think we need to go back to Tyrann Mathieu being himself and trying to find the right place to be. Now, Patrick Mahomes, I don't like seeing it, but it seems as though the suck is a little bit contagious, because he's kind of been the bright spot so far this season, but now the things that are going wrong with everybody are starting to wear on him, and now he's second guessing himself on the majority of the plays. And I don't think last week was rock bottom. I think this trend of problems continues. Now this week, and everything I've been saying, it kind of points to me picking the Giants, and oh man, and plus let's talk about Daniel Jones. Like, he is a dynamic quarterback,
but he only has 5 touchdown passes to 4 interceptions. He's not prone to throw the ball, into an interception, but again, he's only 5 to 4.
Yes, but he's also a rushing threat. And we've seen time and time again, the Kansas City defense, it just takes one little fake and the whole side of the field is open. and it happens way too many times, just like that, every game. And so I am very tempted to pick the Giants. But I think, as you and Dan have pulled this card out before earlier this year, I think I'm going to play this card, and I'm going to give the Chiefs one more week of hope, and I'm going to pick the Chiefs. I'm gonna hope they can right some wrongs, and they're at home, so hopefully we can look a little bit better and and look a little bit more like we did against Washington.
We talked about the offensive line showing some problems last week for the first time. But Mahomes is like, a lot of his interceptions have been balls that have gone right through the receiver's hands. They're just flat not his fault. There's about 2 or 3 that are really his fault. But then again, he leads the league in interceptions, and not by a little bit. He leads by 5. So he's going to have to make some major corrections there. The defense, I was aware of the dazed and confused problems with the secondary. Every time Mahomes throws his hands up like this, you can bet Ron Thornhill or Sorensen's out of position. And that's usually the case, and that often results in a touchdown because they are confused. But New York's coach is not that imaginative. I think this is a week where we can kind of tone down the disguises and the faking our own selves out and play more of a straight-up defense. And that will hopefully eliminate the coverage mistakes that we've been having through the first third of the season. The other big issue, though, that I've kind of noticed in the past week with us is that I think there's a tremendous lack of effort on a couple of our defensive linemen. Chris Jones has 5 tackles all year. And it's like, he got his big contract. He lost the weight to go play defensive end because he thought that would be more fun. But he does not know how to play defensive end, and that's not going well at all, but yet they keep trying it. He needs to go back to defensive tackle, and that's one of the main things I'm looking for this week, putting him back at defensive tackle. But his effort level has not been good. And the same for Fred Clark. His effort level. I mean, you look at these other defensive ends and the way they rush the passers. D Ford was playing with his hair on fire last week. And Fred Clark is just, he's there and looks like he's trying, but I don't think the effort's there. So that's another major problem they have. These guys have their rings and they love Andy Reid, but I think they've kind of reached their limits and they don't care. That's what I'm thinking. So I really thought the Giants have a decent defense. And if they had Saquon Barkley and if they had Golladay, and I think Tony is the other wide receiver, I don't think they got Tony either this week. So with their 2 main wide receivers out and their main running back out, I think the Chiefs should win this week, and I'm picking the Chiefs, but would not be surprised if New York's JV comes up and beats us.
Yeah, I agree.
It's been that bad with the Chiefs.
So, wow.
Which would even make it a spookier Halloween.
Yeah, you picked a good name for this week.
So, hey, I will say this. The Giants have looked sometimes like a competent football team. Now, that's usually because the other team has just forgotten to show up for the game. And they're really cavalier with how they use Daniel Jones. I think that they'd rather have him play tight end at this point than quarterback. But I think that the Chiefs are too good to play that bad 2 weeks in a row. I hope. I'll take the Chiefs. I think that with all the Giants injuries, even though they looked fairly good last week, they should lose to Mahomes and his weapons and their terrible defense.
Kansas City, well, in fear and trepidation and sweating bullets and going against all the arguments we feel that we both took Kansas City too. But
yep.
If they lose this one, which I could see it happening, I don't think Frank Clark and Chris Jones are putting together much of an effort.
No.
And the defense is confused for 7 weeks. They've been confused every week. Every time you see Tyrann Mathieu throw up his hands, it's because Ron Thornhill or
Daniel Sorensen
is out of position, and usually a touchdown occurs. But, I'm thinking about New York, and I don't have a lot of respect for their coach. I don't think he's particularly imaginative, and they don't have their wide receivers and main running back. So they're
Yeah.
showing up basically with their junior varsity.
Yeah.
Still, they might beat us. But because I think Kansas City could focus on being more fundamental and hopefully less confused in the secondary. I don't know how they're going to light a fire under Jones and Clark, but I think we can win this week.
Did you know I read this week that Frank Clark, since we acquired him, we let Justin Houston go. We gave up first and second round pick. We gave him a ton of money. They've basically been, the same pass rusher, even though Clark is, I think, 6 or 7 years younger than Houston.
Yeah.
In the time that we've had Clark, Houston has been a slightly more productive pass rusher, which you can't have when you give up all those assets. The Chiefs have failed to develop any prospects since probably Chris Jones.
Yeah.
I mean, they've drafted the positions of need. They've put the free agents out there, and they're just not getting anything out of the guys that they're bringing into that building. They can't develop anyone. And I mean, eventually
the kid from Michigan, Mike Dana, has been okay. And those two linebackers, Willie Gay
and Bolton
have been good. So
I didn't love, and this wasn't something I saw from him last year, but Gay didn't want to tackle Derrick Henry, which I don't want to tackle Derrick Henry either. Bolton seemed to be the only guy interested in hitting Henry. I think Matthew had to make the first 3 tackles on him at the beginning of the game, which is never a good sign when your safety is making the first 3 running play tackles. And then we had the really terrible Bolton pass defense, which is to be expected. He's a rookie, but they picked on him. They went after him quite a bit.
Yeah. We could lose, and if we do, that the season's over. Because we still have to play division champions. Still got Green Bay. We still got Cincinnati on the schedule.
Yep.
Dallas on the schedule.
It's a tough schedule.
We can't beat any winning teams. We're not going to playoffs.
No. The expectations have come down just a little bit for the Chiefs, but I think they can win this weekend. I have faith. So we'll have to see. Prediction on score?
I would say 32-28, maybe Kansas City. I'm thinking Mahomes bounces back, but I don't think we're going to stop the Giants JV.
Probably not. Probably not, sadly.
They come out flat every week.
Mm-hmm.
Every single week they've come out flat. Sometimes in the past, you'd have maybe 1 or 2 halves in the season where they were flat.
Yeah.
Now it's every week.
Yeah, they come out the first half, we just get rocked, and then maybe halfway through the third quarter, they seem to find a less mediocre gear that they can get to. But that's about all they've got right now.
Kansas City would adopt the KISS method. My friend, when I was athletic director in California, the coach, that was his number 1 rule of football: to keep it simple, stupid. Because you can have athletes all over the field, but if they're dazed and confused, they can't perform to their athletic ability. They have to know what they're doing and do things instinctively to be able to reach their top level abilities. And that's what's holding Thornhill back. They're not bad players. Sorensen and Thornhill and those guys, they're not terrible players, but they are confused. There's no question about that.
No, Spagnuolo's trying to mask too much. He's trying to disguise everything. He's running a 0 blitz. I think 40% of the defensive snaps. That's not unpredictable. Teams are ready for that.
Yeah.
It doesn't work.
Yeah, they've been ready for his defenses, and then plus we're confused. So it's going to take a drastic change to turn around. And I don't know if they're willing to make a drastic change.
No, I don't think they're able to anymore. They're too far in. And our coaches are pretty set in their ways, which works for us sometimes. And this year, it really didn't.
Yeah, and Andy Reid last year in Philadelphia, that's kind of the way it was there. And it just kind of fell off the cliff. Yeah, it has. I can't say it's fallen off the cliff yet, but they're definitely teetering on the edge. And if we lose this week, yeah, it's going to be a loud fight at the bottom.
Yep. We may stay at the bottom of the AFC West if we lose this week, but I think they'll pull this one out, and then hopefully we can stay ahead of a few good teams.
Even Denver would beat us.
I hope not, man. I really hope not. That team is pretty rough to watch, but I just never expected to see a game where we only put up 3 points.
Some of the Chiefs YouTubers I've been watching that follow the Chiefs, a couple of them are hoping that Andy Reid retires. And what was the thing?
It's hard to do that since he took us to the 2 Super Bowls, but if his heart's not in it, and I don't know where he's at in his career and everything. I think the events before last Super Bowl obviously probably have affected him and may continue to. But if it happens, I don't know if I'm excited or not. Like, what am I getting next? But on defense, it can't be any worse. So there's that.
Yeah.
How do you feel about it? Do you think it's his time?
I think it's his time. Yeah, he's 65, 66 years old, something like that. And when you get older, he's still very good, but I couldn't do my old job. I used to do. I'm 68, and I don't think I could do my own job. There's no way I could remember and keep all that stuff straight that I used to do. So at some time you do get older, and it's time to walk off into the sunset and take that Hall of Fame Hall of Fame honor and retire. There
you are. Well, we'll have to see what happens. We won't put them in the grave just yet, but maybe if they lose to the Giants, we might have to get out the shovels and start digging. But had a great time this week.
We'll let you go. Thanks for your picks. And I do think both of us have a chance to make up some ground. Now, I differ with Justin on 5 picks. You are differing with Justin on 1, the Indianapolis, Tennessee pick, the Charger, New England pick 2, Denver, Washington pick 3. So you can make up 3 games on him.
I'll take it. Well, hopefully we both make up some ground, and looking forward to doing it again next week.
Okay. See you then.
Thanks, Brian.
Yeah, bye-bye.
Bye.
So how many picks do we differ on? That's probably the most this year so far, I think.
Yeah, we differ on the Detroit, Philadelphia pick. We differ on the Tennessee, Indianapolis pick. We differ on the New England Charger pick, the Jacksonville, Seattle pick, the Washington, Denver pick.
That's 5.
Yeah, at least 5. Chance to make up some ground. If I have a perfect Sunday, I am 6 games behind you, so they get me within 1. But if I have a bad Sunday, I'll be 11 games behind you. And this has the possibility of being a really bad Sunday. I think it's going to be a fun Sunday, though, because there's all these close games and interesting things.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah, it should be a lot less blowouts, too, I think, from what happened last week.
Yeah, New England was really running up the score, weren't they?
Yeah.
They're not going to be able to do that this week. Probably. But I think they can win. Well, another good week of picks. We'll include Dan in these picks too, and we'll meet with him tonight. So, Justin, you enjoy your Sunday. You plan on coming over again Sunday?
Yeah, probably. I mean,
I think the
Yeah.
Cleveland game is going to be carried in Kansas City at noon. Cleveland Pittsburgh game. Yeah, I'm interested in watching that game.
Yeah, that'd be good to watch.
Mhm. All right, have a good weekend.
You too.
Bye bye.
Bye.